I've been fairly critical of Tesla's approach of full self-driving, but I don't want people to get confused by my kind of weird position on it. I think it's a good thing that they're pursuing it. Humans are getting progressively worse and worse at driving, and we're getting more distracted, and I am in favor of vehicles becoming smarter and learning how to drive themselves, because my dream is still for me to own my own car, but it can drive all by itself, or at least on the highway, it can drive and I can watch a movie or use my phone. So I want them to pursue it. It's just always coming back to me to the narrative. And this really originally started way back in 2016 when Tesla started offering the software package full self-driving. I really hate the fact that they put full in there, because that doubles down, emphasizes the fact that you won't have to do anything. It can completely drive itself. You don't even want to call it partial self-driving. No, you're committed in 2016 to full self-driving. Elon making crazy claims about how, well, eventually Smart Summon is going to work cross-continent, but that's gonna not happen until the end of 2018 or 2019. Here we are at the end of 2022, and full self-driving beta is slowly making its way out to the mass adoption. It's becoming difficult though, because you can't have the holiday update and full self-driving beta, so it's still one of those things you have to either subscribe ahead of time and wait, or try to time your subscription so that you pay right as it comes out to your version. Gotta delay those newer updates that are coming out. But I think all of these overly optimistic claims are starting to come back and haunt Tesla, because there's been some more lawsuits now about the promises involved, and they were building cars back in 2016, 17, and 18, where they thought at that time, and they were willing to plaster that all over the website, that these cars include all of the necessary hardware for full self-driving. Now, of course, no one has achieved full self-driving, and that was objectively not true, because they didn't even have the full self-driving computer figured out by then. So once Tesla designed their own full self-driving computer, their way around it was, well, if you paid for FSD before, then you can get the full self-driving computer in your car for free. But that all changed once they offered the subscription model, because now there were people that didn't pay, the $2, $3, or $7 or $8,000 for full self-driving, but they still didn't have the full self-driving computer in their old vehicle. So once they went to subscribe, Tesla decided, oh, well, I guess if you're subscribing to full self-driving, in order to get hardware 3, you gotta spend $1,000 or $2,000 to get the FSD computer installed in your car, which does go directly against the claims they were making before that the vehicles included all of the hardware necessary. Well, then why are you charging thousands of dollars for hardware if you were claiming that software was all that was going to be necessary? And I think it also gets problematic, and it hurts my recommendation for trying out the software, when Tesla went dark and went very, very quiet on a lot of the first adopters, basically the first wave of people that bought full self-driving. Whether it was back in 2016 or the early parts of 2017, there were Model S's and X's being delivered, and a lot of the people who got those cars paid for the full self-driving package. And while technically, yes, they could get hardware 3 retrofitted in their car for free, because the car was older and was using more dated equipment, Tesla said those cars would need camera retrofits as well. So those, if you bought full self-driving, could be upgraded for free, but it got even messier when it came to MCU 1 and MCU 2. So in the older days, they had pretty weak CPUs and GPUs that were powering the portrait mode displays in the old Model S's and X's. And this story was quite hilarious to me, because while you could get the retrofit for free of hardware 3.0, which is the full self-driving computer, the infotainment powering CPU and GPU, I guess on those older Teslas, was literally not capable of running the full self-driving visualization. So, years ago, people first started getting the beta, it was employees only, and then you had to get into this invite-only program. Then it was the safety score, and you press the request beta button, and all of this was going on for several years, and all of these people that paid for full self-driving before couldn't get the beta. Even if they had a great safety score, even if they paid for full self-driving, they couldn't get on the beta because the MCU in their car wasn't capable of registering the visualizations. And that upset a lot of people, because they were like, hey, you claimed, Tesla, that I had all of the hardware necessary. And around 2020, Tesla started rolling out the retrofit package for MCU 2, basically just gave gave the computer that powers the infotainment system a better CPU, a better GPU that was more fast and responsive. But that retrofit cost $2,500, and as of right now, Tesla has still not offered anybody with MCU 1 a free retrofit to MCU 2 until just a couple weeks ago in early December. For the first time, we started seeing people with MCU 1 get the request beta button. So it took several years for them to finally roll that out, but I do believe, if I'm reading all of this news correctly, that this implies that you will have full self-driving beta, but you won't get the visualizations on the driver display unless you spend that extra $2,500 on MCU 2. I don't think, for financial reasons and time reasons obviously, that Tesla is going to offer MCU 2. By their logic, well, we gave you full self-driving, we're just not giving you the visualizations for it, and maybe that's a deal breaker for some people, or maybe it just makes the whole self-driving experience a lot more sketchy because you can't really see what the car is actually seeing, and that's what we're kind of used to when watching all of these full self-driving beta videos. But the reason I wanted to highlight this story is it's a great example of what happens when Tesla doesn't give themselves any kind of deadline or timeline. I don't know exactly what Tesla's rolling out next year, but there's a lot of talk right now that for Project Highland, or maybe with Tesla adding HD radar to their cars, I don't really believe they're going to do that. But if in the future they hit another local maximum and realize we need higher megapixel cameras, or we need more cameras on the bumper, a lot of people think that they're gonna incorporate cameras in the headlights with the next Model 3 design. Once Tesla comes out with better hardware that can perform full self-driving in a more enhanced way, that will suddenly get all of their priority, and then that's gonna be how good can full self-driving really be, and they don't have to stick to any kind of timeline for everybody else. So if you bought a Tesla in the last couple of years and you paid the $12,000 or $15,000 for full self-driving, there's a good chance that Tesla may say, oh, we'll update your older hardware 3.0 vehicle at some point, but we're kind of focused on hardware 4.0 right now because that's got better cameras. But you know, we can make it work on that older hardware. We just need to find the time for it, and we're very busy right now. But how much time is it honestly going to take? They don't have to abide by any sort of timeline. That's kind of the dangers of subscribing or believing this full self-driving future when Tesla doesn't know how long it's going to take, and clearly they don't have a good track record of predicting how long it's going to take. So don't get me wrong, I think it's a good thing for them to pursue. It's just, if I was in charge, or if you ask me how I would do it, I would not be using the term full self-driving, and I would not be making claims like robo-taxis are coming next year or in 2 years. I would just say, this is enhanced autopilot, and I'm honestly even okay with the absurd pricing of it. Like, it is very expensive, but it is really cool technology that clearly a lot of people are willing to pay for, and I would just rather it be a feature that you get to try out what the best self-driving technology is capable of, but just don't try to sell me on the idea that this is going to make me money and the car is going to be level 5 autonomous within a year or two. You don't know, Tesla, and it's starting to backfire now that you have to offer all of these old retrofits and continue supporting these older and older cars that have more and more dated hardware, or you have to suffer from lawsuits because you're not giving people what they expected to get in a reasonable timeline, or realizing that you need better hardware than you originally thought. It's very easy now in the present to be like, well, we have all the hardware we need, it's just a software problem. But my point is, Tesla thought that exact same thing in 2017, and they were wrong. How do we know they're not going to be wrong again when it comes to future hardware that may perform better self-driving features? And maybe that's what they need, and you're going to start having to offer more and more retrofits for everybody who paid for full self-driving. That means clogging up service centers, consuming more Tesla service employee time, mobile service vehicles, driving around, increasing wait times for service because you had to retrofit everybody's cars. I feel like it wouldn't be as big an issue if you just called it enhanced autopilot and didn't claim that it was going to become a robo-taxi in the not too distant future. So that's why, in case you're curious, I prioritized in my car getting the holiday update because that brought a lot of cool and fun features that were free, versus not updating my car to increase the chances of me getting on full self-driving beta, which would cost me $200 a month, and I'm still not really convinced it's going to be that great an experience based on the videos I'm watching from other channels. Here's hoping in the future you won't have to decide and you can just have the newest quality of life update and full self-driving beta at the same time. But yeah, it's still fascinating to watch what is going on with Tesla's original full self-driving promise for the people that have been waiting for years and years for this feature and still basically have gotten squat. What do you guys think of Tesla's branding of it? Should they change it? Should they keep it? Should they stay the course? How far away do you think robo robotaxis are, if ever. Feel free to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And thank you to everyone on Patreon supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.